The next individual I'm going to introduce you to is the newest presidential candidate. He's currently an airline captain. He's a former fighter pilot, 50 combat missions in Desert Storm. He is from New Hampshire. Ladies and gentlemen, a nice big round of applause for New Hampshire's son, Captain Christopher Hill.
Hello, New Hampshire. Well, my name is Christopher V. Hill. Let me take a minute and introduce myself and give you my background. Then I'd like to tell you what I stand for and why we're doing this and how it launched my presidential campaign. I am proud to say that I'm the newest presidential candidate in the field. Our campaign started 3 weeks ago. I'm an airline captain and I still work for a living in America. I've worked in 49 out of the 50 states. I'm leaving tomorrow night to fly packages around this country for UPS once again. And it's a big difference for a guy like me that's been in the middle class like all of you my entire life working hard for this country. I am a former fighter pilot, United States Air Force fighter pilot. Thank you. I had 50 combat missions during Desert Storm 20 years ago. And for all of you folks that watched CNN back when the war started, I was one of the airplanes taken off along with the F-117 stealth fighters to go north and liberate a country. So I started in New Hampshire. I'm from Bedford. I went to Manchester West High School, class of 81. I'm a distinguished graduate of the Air Force ROTC program at the University of New Hampshire, class of 85. After 7 years in the Air Force flying the F-4 Phantom and the F-15E Strike Eagle, I got out of the Air Force and came home to New Hampshire in 1993 to be around all of our families and raise our son in a great school system right here. And I worked in campaign after campaign. In 1980, I held a sign for Ronald Reagan right here in Manchester, New Hampshire. And we helped elect one of the best presidents of the 20th century at that age. And people ask me, how come it's taking you so long to get started? And I tell them, well, you're not from New Hampshire, are you? I said, up in New Hampshire, we focus from Labor Day to Christmas, so I'm starting my campaign right in the middle of August, right when the people in New Hampshire understand what we're trying to do. Last year, I organized a group called Pilots and Patriots Defending the Constitution. And with over 700 members on Facebook, we identified candidates around the country that took an oath to the Constitution first before either political party. Because like a lot of people, we're tired of politicians who say one thing and go to Washington, D.C. and do something completely different. So over the past year, talking to small groups of people, they encouraged me and said, you know what, sir, we need you to go home, organize, and run for President of the United States. And I said, I'm flattered. I said, in fact, I'm so flattered that what I need to know is this. Can you look at a ballot in New Hampshire someday or in a general election and say to yourself, there are big names there like Mitt Romney, career politicians like Rick Perry now, possibly Michelle Bachmann, Rick Santorum. Can you get down to a name like Christopher V. Hill and say, you know what, that's the airline captain from New Hampshire that put his life on the line for this nation and marked the ballot that way? If you can answer yes to that, then I'll go home and get organized and I will run for President of the United States, and we'll put a veteran in the office instead of a career politician for a change. So I challenge you at every event when you're with somebody who's in politics, ask them this question when they're running for President of the United States. We have an aristocracy in America. It's called the United States Congress. We need term limits to limit the amount of time that they spend in Congress. No more lifetime politicians spending our children and grandchildren into debt, passing away in office and sending the bill on to them in the future. It's time to end politics as usual in Washington, D.C. After that, we need to change the tax system in this country. I support the fair tax, elimination of the federal income tax completely in this nation. We need a balanced budget amendment in this country because Congress doesn't have the spine to do what we all have to do every month, balance our checkbooks. And finally, let me talk about national defense. On the second night at Desert Storm, I was on a 6-ship mission to bomb an oil refinery in Basra, Iraq. The surface-to-air missile activity and the AAA activity was so intense coming off the target that we lost our 6th airplane and 2 very good men Major Tom Quartz and Lieutenant Colonel Donnie Holland. Both of them were husbands and both of them were fathers. And if nothing motivates somebody to step up and try and make a difference in this nation, it's the thought of those two heroes that gave their lives 20 years ago for this country. So with that in mind, as President of the United States, I plan on ending the wars that we're in, and unlike Barack Obama, who promised to bring the troops home, I will bring the troops home, and I'll begin doing that the first week that I'm in office, not 4 years later when it lines up with my re-election as President of the United States, like I think Barack's planning on doing. After that, we're going to ask nations around the world to step up and assume defense of their own countries. We're going to reevaluate our treaties around the world and bring our troops home and ask them to step up and assume the responsibility for their own defense. Finally, let me say this. People have asked a lot of questions about what your experience is to be President of the United States, and I tell them a couple things. First, as a member of the United States military, on day one, when I take the most important job in office as Commander-in-Chief, I will have a background to ask technical questions of the Pentagon and the JCS that Obama never had, Bush probably didn't have, and Bill Clinton certainly never had. Second, we're approaching the anniversary of 9/11. We all remember what it was like to look at George Bush on the stage when he had that aide walk over and whisper into his ear, "Sir, our nation's been attacked. Our entire air traffic system is under threat." As a 17-year airline pilot and airline captain, I would immediately have understood what the threat to our nation looked like at that very second. So I bring a lot of different experience to the Oval Office, and like other experiences, when I need advisement, I'll bring in the best advisors with the most technical background and expertise, and we will determine a course for this country. But the course for this country will be set on the core principles of the Constitution, not on what polls are waving in the wind that week. So let me finish by closing with this. Every day that I go to work as an airline captain, my company trusts me to sign for a $100 million aircraft. The FAA and the United States government trust me to sign for a $100 million aircraft every day I go to work. 20 years ago, my United States government and all of you as American taxpayers trusted me when I was just 27 years old with the newest fighter, the F-15 Strike Eagle, to go to war. I used a pen, I signed for it, and we liberated a nation. All I'm asking you now is to trust me with this pen, because it's who holds this pen as the next President of the United States in 2013 that will determine the future of America. Thank you.